Alright, so I've just pulled this actuator pump off my 2003 Suzuki Grand Vitara. So on the plug, if you're looking straight down it, the middle pin is your earth and the left one is your 12 volt supply. Now that sounds like a compressor, but I'd expect it to run for a little bit and then just stop. Okay, I've repositioned this so you can see the gauge easier. The workshop manual says that when it's running properly, it should pump till about 4 to 6 psi and then it should shut off. Now this seems to just keep cycling, which makes me think that it must be leaking internally or the pressure cutoff is not working properly. Okay, so I've pried this little end cap off and there's the little gasket that sits in there. I'm going to go back together, you got to make sure you put that the same way because it's got a indentation that it runs around the edge in there. What I've found is one of these little valve outlets is made of metal and it's got a whole bunch of corrosion on it. And that seats, I don't know if you're going to be able to see very clearly, there's a couple of O-rings down in there. I'm going to pop those out and make sure they're okay, but judging by the OD of that metal little interface, I think it runs on that O-ring and that's pretty rusty and I don't know if it's going to be sealing too well, so I'm going to try and polish that up. Check those O-rings are alright. Might put a little bit of grease or something on them. Just a little bit of oil, don't know if I should or not, but I'll give that a go and put it back together and see if it actually seals. So then it won't cycle, it'll just produce that 5 to 6 psi, whatever it's meant to make, and then shut off and stay shut off. I have a feeling it's leaking past that little bit of rust. I should say, to get this little piece out, there's just a couple of screws there that you undo, and then you just got to feed those cables back through the back and you should be able to pull it out pretty easily. If it's not coming out easily, something's caught up and you need to have a look because you don't want to break any of those connections or anything like that. Okay, these are the results. So, focus. Okay. There's pretty bad pitting in that, unfortunately. But basically, I've just gone over that with a little bit of Scotch-Brite, lubricated with some inox, and that's just some 1200 grit. Spent a little bit of time on it. I think that's about as good as it's going to get there without taking heaps of material off. And the only O-rings I've found were these little AC ones I got kicking around. I don't think they're exactly the right size, so I'm probably going to go back with these ones, but I am going to put a little bit of rubber grease on them just to try and protect that shaft from more corrosion and hopefully just making them seal a little bit better too. Alright, I haven't put it all together. Just going to test it now. Well, I already tested it and it works, but so now you get these little suckers in here. There we go. She holds. There we go. And release. Okay, got the car back together. Everything seems to be working alright. If I switch from 2 high to 4 high now, and the light comes on, switch back to 2 high, light goes off. Beforehand, when I'd switch to 4 high, the light would continually flash on and off, which would be basically in time with the cycling of the air pump that we saw on the test bench. So the third pin on that plug is the signal wire for the ECU and for your dash light. So the ECU was basically getting a signal saying that the thing was selecting 4-wheel drive, and then as it would leak off and then recycle again, it would turn off and then turn back on, and would just continue to do that. If you had a cracked hose, or worst case scenario, the actuator in the front diff was actually split or something, there was a leak in the seals in that, I don't think your 4-wheel drive light would go on at all. But if your car is just, you know, flashing 4-wheel drive on and off when you try and select it, it's probably just that air pump. The little nozzle in there just needs to be cleaned off. If you don't use your 4-wheel drive very much, it's probably just built up with corrosion and just needs to be cleaned off. Probably only takes about half an hour to do, so yeah, hopefully this video has been of use for someone out there. and cheers.